Have you ever made a video and the audio just didn't quite sound right? Maybe your voiceover sounded thin, quiet, or not balanced. Once you understand it, it will totally change the sound and feel of narrations, dialogue, and almost any of the audio in your videos. Now, there are a lot of different ways to use a compressor, a lot of different controls on a compressor, and I'm gonna break this down as simply as possible in a short amount of time so that you can get a quick understanding of what a compressor does, how to use one, and how to apply it to a real-world scenario in a video. So before we get started, please like this video, subscribe to my channel. It helps me grow a lot, and I love just giving away free tutorials and knowledge here on YouTube. A compressor is like a volume knob that turns down the loudest parts of your audio. It can be very useful for dialogue. It can be very useful to create full-bodied narration, and it can also be used to give more character to the quiet parts of audio while not blowing people's eardrums out with the loud parts. In another way of saying it, a compressor does exactly what the name says it does. It compresses the dynamic range of your audio. Loud parts get quieter, quiet parts get louder. Again, a compressor evens out the volume, it keeps the vocals present, and it prevents the peaks of your audio signal from distorting, from being too loud. Okay, so there are a bunch of settings on a compressor that you need to at least have a basic understanding of what they do and how they work so that you can properly dial in compression. First is the threshold. Think of the threshold as where your compressor starts to work. You're gonna set this line on your audio bar, the threshold, and any audio that passes over that gets squished, quieted down. The ratio, another really important setting in a compressor, is how hard the compressor will work to quiet down that audio. So for example, if your ratio is set to 4:1, that means that for every 4 decibels over the threshold, the compressor will only allow 1 decibel through. So that's pretty hard compression. That means that your audio signal is actually being reduced by 3 decibels. If your ratio is set 10:1, that means for every 10 decibels over the threshold, the compressor is only going to allow 1 decibel through. It's going to automatically quiet down that signal so much, 9 decibels worth of noise is being reduced to only allow 1 decibel through. Then you have attack and release. Attack is how fast the compressor kicks in. Release is how slow the compressor lets go of quieting down that audio. They can have different effects. Feel free to experiment. You don't really have to change those too much for dialogue. So right now, with just a threshold and a ratio, the end product you have is just a quieter signal. All you've done is you've quieted things down that have exceeded your threshold. Picture it like this. Here's your original audio signal. You then compressed your audio signal with a threshold and ratio. So your whole audio signal used to be like this, and now it looks like this. So it's a little bit quieter actually. The makeup gain then takes your remaining audio signal and pushes it back up to the top. So you want to make sure that your final peaks of audio are still acceptable and within the proper range for like broadcast and for a polished video. But makeup gain is important because again, with just a threshold and a ratio, you're actually just quieting things down. Then you use the makeup gain to push everything back up. And here's one more really important thing about makeup gain. Again, I'm just using my hands for this. Here's the low part of your audio wave. Here's the high part of your audio wave. We compress it down and we make it back up. Look what's happening to the low signal. Here it is again. We compress it down and we raise it back up with the makeup gain. The low end of the signal is actually being raised when you use makeup gain. And this is important because dialogue, voiceovers, narrations, even singing, there are very nuanced tones in those valleys of your audio wave. And by bringing that up with makeup gain, you're actually gonna bring those forward. Some of the breathiness, some of the rich, full-bodied vocal actually dwells in the bottom of your audio range. So by compressing things down, and then using makeup gain to bring it back up, your actual final audio level is probably gonna be around the same, but you're pulling up the nuanced character and tone that is in the bottom of your audio wave without overdriving your peaks. Okay, so you're in your video editor and you wanna use a compressor on some audio that you have. How do you do that? Some people will say to use a compressor before EQ or after EQ. I personally don't care. Use it wherever works best and ends with the right product for you. Typically, I wouldn't compress a background track of music or anything like that. I would put it on vocals, unless you're producing like a song and you're compressing instruments. For video editing alone, I typically wouldn't put a compressor onto sound effects, backing tracks, anything like that. I would use it on dialogue, narration, voiceovers, things of that nature. Dialing in your settings is going to be important. The threshold has to be set manually to the audio peak of your audio file. So again, we said this earlier, if your audio file was recorded at a lower gain and your signal's low, you might have to boost that gain up before compressing it, or really lower your threshold to come down and meet that gain level. So threshold is dependent on the signal of audio. Ratio for a very gentle compression, 2:1, 3:1. Once you go over 2:1 or 3:1 as a ratio, you're gonna start to have a noticeable compression. If you crank compression up to 10:1, you'll instantly hear the effect that it has, and it has this almost choking effect on the dynamics of the audio. So you don't really ever wanna do that. I would recommend, for just starting out, if you've ever used a compressor before and you just want some of the basic benefits of using one, to start at a ratio of 2 or 3:1. Don't touch the attack and release on your compressor. They're probably set in a really default, basic, natural feeling way. And with your makeup gain, I typically will push back in equal to my ratio. So if my ratio is set 3:1 or 4:1, I would then push back in 3 decibels or 4 decibels with my makeup gain. Here's an example of audio without some compression, so you can hear what just a natural, this is what the mic is hearing. And now here's an example of me speaking with some compression dialed in on this microphone. And now here's an example of me speaking with the compressor cranked all the way up. It's choking out my signal. You can hear the difference this is making. When you overcompress things, it can take the life out of your audio. It kind of feels like it has no room to breathe. It doesn't feel natural. It sounds almost too like it's on the radio or something like that. When something's not compressed enough, you might not hear all the things in the lower end of the audio signal, or the top end of the audio signal might be peaking, distorting. What you can do to learn this quickly is to record a simple voiceover dialogue, drop it into your video editor, and just start to mess around with the compressors. Listen to how it changes the tone of your voice and how it changes the feel of your video. I've said this before, audio is really, really important in videos. People will watch bad video, but they won't listen to bad audio. And this is a really, really easy way to put a professional touch to the audio in your videos. But if you get through this whole video and you're like, Pete, I just can't figure this out, or I'm still a little confused about this and I'm not ready to implement using compression in my audio editing, I do sell compression presets on my website. You can go at the link in the description of this video to check them out. They have everything dialed in for voiceover right away. The only thing you need to change on them is the threshold. Again, because the threshold is dependent on the audio signal of your recorded audio. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it gave you some insight into how compression works in audio and how you can use it in video production to create better, more rich dialogue and voiceovers for your video. Again, if you haven't yet, like and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it a lot. I hope this video helped you, and I'll see you on the next one.